This is step one of our AI project. We're going to set up Freqtrade, just the default simple setup, and it's going to be a bit of a speed run, so let's crack on. Here is my notes, which I will make available in the comments below. This project is going to be huge, so make sure you leave a good 50, 60, 70 gigabytes of space. The first thing I'm going to do is create a folder called Project25. You obviously can call it whatever you like. Inside this folder I need ft_user data. That's where Freqtrade is going to live, and we will be downloading a lot of sample data for backtesting. Another folder, just for me, you can do it this way if you like, is called software, which is where I'm going to put some software. And just for the time being, I need a folder called video, where I am going to store these videos. So what software do we need? We need to install or update VS Code, Python, and Docker Desktop. Let me just turn on the zoom. Okay, now you can see clearly VS Code, Python, Docker Desktop. Remember with the installation, just to install everything as this user, not as admin or system or anything else. I will open 3 tabs and download 3 pieces of software. Visual Studio Code, fairly straightforward, just download it, save it. Docker Desktop, again, just download it. And of course Python. Download the latest. Do be aware with Python you can run multiple versions at the same time, so this might trip us up. All the software has been downloaded, so install with the defaults. Make sure for Python you tick include Python in the path. For Docker Desktop, make sure you reboot, check for updates, reboot again. And for VS Code, we're going to open it and set Explorer to our Project25 folder. Docker Desktop is installing. VS Code, we will install this. And while I'm here, I'm going to install Python. Okay, see you after a restart. Welcome back after the reboot. Let's run Docker. There it is. It says it's starting. Well, that took ages. Skip the sign in. Even though I installed the latest, it says that there is an update. So we will apply the updates and we will have to restart again. One extra that I do like to turn on is start Docker Desktop when I start the computer. I very often forget to start this program, so even though it says apply and restart, we will reboot. Welcome back. Let's make sure that Docker Desktop is in fact up to date. Yes, it is. That's good. We'll shrink that back down. So all the software is installed. Let's move on to installing Freqtrade. Find your folder, ft_user data. Shift right click, open PowerShell. Double check the path. Make sure you are in your project folder. Run the commands. What you see on your screen might be different to mine because I have already installed and removed many of these programs many times. Let's answer the default questions. Dry run, yes. USDT, I'm fine with that. Unlimited, yes. 3. Have the strategy to find things. US dollars. Binance. Futures, no thank you. Enable Telegram, no thank you. The REST API, yes, I want that. Use zeros, yes. And username and password for testing, I will put Freqtrade as FQ and FQ. Has it worked? Let's have a look in our FT user data folder and you will see many files and folders. Back over in our PowerShell, we can type in docker compose up. Give it a moment. It seems to be running without any errors. Let's open a browser. Type in localhost 8080 and it is up and running. Login info expired. Freqtrade is the name of the bot. Localhost FQ login. There we go. That's better. Dry run, 0 of 3 trades. Logs. Excellent. It is working. Let's come back over to PowerShell, Control C. Wait for it to close down correctly. And Docker compose down. Okay, it's all up and running. Next, we're going to make some changes to the default files to make our life easier. The first is to rename the compose file, docker compose, to simply compose.yaml. Now we're going to edit the compose file. So I will open VS Code. Find my compose file. What am I going to do here? I'm going to remove all the comments. Oops, I'm going to remove the comments. I'm going to add a DBS to the database line and I'm going to change the strategy name to simply ST. There we go. Strategy name is ST. I've added in DBS and removed all the comments. Autosave is on. Now I will come over to my folders and you'll see that there's some database files here. I'm going to get rid of those, make a folder, DBS, go into that folder, and put those 3 files in there. I would suggest that we test it now before we make more changes. Docker compose up. You'll see that we've got some error messages already. That's because I renamed the strategy to ST. Where am I looking? Just here. But I didn't actually rename the strategy. So let's go over and find that. Config strategies. Here we go. Sample strategy. Let's call that ST. Let's open it. And call our simple strategy ST. Docker compose down to remove the container, Docker compose up, and this time round no error messages. Excellent. Everything's still working. Let's kill it again and remove the container. Now we need to edit our config file. What changes are we going to make to the config file? Let's zoom in again. In our config file, we are going to put localhost into the core's origin. We're going to change the pair list to static. We're going to add, say, 20 pairs, and we're going to move a couple of instructions to the top. There we go, all done. I've put the name of the bot at the top. Max open trades, dry run wallet, available capital. This is useful when you're actually live testing, live running. What else? The pair whitelist. I've added a bunch of pairs. I suggest you go through your criteria and choose the pairs that you want to experiment with. Pair list is changed to static pair list. The other instructions can go because they only apply to volume. And core's origins has localhost written in it. Test it again. PowerShell, Docker compose up. Look for errors. None. Now we have a long list of pairs, which is beginning to be populated with data. Okay. We are up and running. So let's turn a few things off. Control C. Remove the container. What's next in our project? We need data for backtesting. So data for backtesting, we would use Docker compose run, remove the module when we're finished, name of the service, download data. I would suggest that we grab a significant amount of data. Now this will take a long time, so make sure you have chosen your pair list wisely. We don't really want to go back and change it later, which is what I'm going to do right now. Okay, so I've just been over to my favorite exchange, which is Binance, and I sorted all the market pairs, all the coins, by market capital, and I've put in about 25, maybe more, into my static pair list. So next I'm going to grab some data using this command. We'll go over to our PowerShell. The first thing I'm going to do is grab the data for this year. I'm going to do January the 1st until January the 2nd, because this will tell me which pairs did not exist back then. So let's run this, give it a few minutes. This is going to take a while. Welcome back. This has finished. We have downloaded the data for one day for many pairs. Now I'm going to scroll through and take note of this. No available data. I'm going to remove the pairs that have no data. So I can see here that S, so let's go over to my list. There it is. Remember, spacing and syntax is very important in Python files. Virtual, and there's a pair called Trump. Virtual has to go, and the Trump pair list has to go. Ondo, that appears to be it. Ondo. Okay. Now, before we continue, I want to start preparing for strategies. We have one strategy called ST. I'm going to duplicate this and put it back to sample strategy. Let's remember to edit the name. Sample strategy. Always a good idea to keep some original files in case you make a mistake. I am going to grab a couple more strategies using this instruction. New strategy, minimal and advanced. So new strategy, using the template minimal. And the same again, using the template advanced. We will call this sample advanced. Okay. So now in our folder we have 3 example strategies and our strategy that we can mess around with. I think I'm going to copy this again and call it skeleton. I'm going to edit this and remove all the comments with the name. This one is going to be called skeleton. This is default. ROI is going to go. I'm going to leave the stop loss and the stop loss instructions. In fact, I'm going to turn this on. I'm going to set that to true. And just put in some random numbers for the moment. Time frame, I'm going to move that up because I like to fiddle with that often. User exit signal is going to be set to false because I am just going to use the stop loss for exit. Exit profit only, these are defaults. I'm going to remove all of this. Populate indicators, all this is going to go. Okay, populate entry trend. Move the comments. The entry signal is going to simply be if the volume is greater than 0. Data frame lock, that can go. The exit trend is going to be empty because this is using stop loss. Okay, so my skeleton file is now this simple. I've left the imports. From the strategy, we're only going to import minimum, and our strategy has a trailing stop, no indicators. The populate the entry is only by volume. If volume is greater than 0, then buy stuff. And the cell has no instructions, and that is it. It's a good idea to test it at every step, and I will do the same. Download data, I just did it from the 1st until the 2nd. Backtesting, Let's use that. Make sure we tag on to the end. Strategy skeleton. Off it goes, and we have a result. Four trades, slight profit, and more detailed information. Average daily profit of 1%. I'd be happy with this if it made 1% per day. The compound accumulation would make us a millionaire within 6 months. Alright. So it is all working. Let's simplify. The next step is to grab a lot more strategies. If we go over to the Freqtrade website, near the beginning we have strategy repository. And we can start grabbing various strategies. I suggest you grab a few. I am going to get strategy 01. And I'm going to keep it in a folder, a new folder called Strategies Examples. Strategy 02, I want that one. Strategy 03, I'm going to have this one. And a few more. You grab as many as you like. Back in my strategies folder, I have the sample advanced and minimal and skeleton. I'm going to move all of these over to my examples folder and only have ST in the strategies folder. So the only thing left to do is to download the sample data for back testing, but a tremendous amount. So choose a month or longer. I'm going to remove the second date so that I get up to today, which is mid-May. And I'm going to leave this running to download a ton of data. Time for lunch. Well, I'll finish off by saying that's it for setting up Freqtrade. You can play around with it. You can learn more about Freqtrade if you need to from my previous videos, from other websites. But that's it for Freqtrade. I will be moving on to step 2. Have a good day.